If you're watching this video, that most likely means you are a motorcyclist or a fan of motorcycling, which also means you've probably heard of the Isle of Man TT before. If you haven't, let me catch you up real fast. It is an island in the UK that they shut down every year so psychopaths on motorcycles can do amazing stuff like this. Let's say you run a YouTube channel focused around all things motorcycling, and let's say a company reaches out, Motul no less, that wants you to come out and experience the VIP journey of the Isle of Man TT. Now, unfortunately, let's also say that you're dealing with a terrible family circumstance and it's not gonna allow you to go. What do you do? Well, if I'm me, which I am, I'm gonna send my buddy Joe out, who happens to be a freelance photographer and fellow moto enthusiast. You guys should probably meet Joe. So guys, this is Joe. Joe, say hi.
Hey y'all.
Guys, Joe is gonna take us and find out what it's like to go through a VIP journey at the Isle of Man.
You lucky son of a bitch.
Let's do it. So essentially when I got the call from Chase, all I was told was, hey, do you want to go to the Isle of Man TT? Which the obvious zero hesitation answer is yes. It wasn't until a few days later I found out not only was I going to attend the TT, my job was to go through a VIP journey, which I'll be honest, sounded kind of like marketing fluff, a little bit of an exaggeration, but the second I got on that plane to the Isle of Man, I very quickly realized, no, this is not just hype, this is gonna be the trip of a lifetime. Started off in Atlanta, hopped on a flight over to Paris, it was great, I got to meet up with the guys at Motul, big shout out to Darwin for being such an amazing host, and then the next day we rolled up to the airport and all of a sudden you see this little building and a plane sitting on the tarmac that somehow is supposed to carry 45 people. Packed light, we hopped on the plane, pretty short flight over, and then the second you start to land on that approach for Isle of Man, you realize like, oh, I'm in a different place. Like this is somewhere special. This is gonna be somewhere that is in an experience like I've never felt before. So we get in, customs is very casual there. It's a pretty small island. It's two pretty friendly and funny fellas just checking passports. From there, we all got shuttled over to the TT Village where we were introduced to our rooms, and man, what an experience. I don't want you guys to get caught up and think when we go to the village or go to the Isle of Man, we're staying in 5-star resorts, there's catered everything. This is not the case. These are essentially like temporary housing pods, or as we like to call them, snoozy pods. And while they are not a 5-star resort, they are absolutely everything you need for a weekend, which the goal is to not stay in your room. We get to the village, we get a little bit settled in. The first thing we got to do was pretty incredible. We actually got to go to the HRC Honda booth and meet with John McGinnis and some of the other riders that were Motul sponsored and really dig in with them and talk about like what makes this place so special.
I've done over 52,000 miles around the TT, which is a long way, you know, on small bikes, 250s, 400s, 600s, V-twins, electric bikes, you know. It's been a heck of a journey for 96 I started, so I'm not very good at my maths, so it's been a long time.
I don't think I'd find out until later on in the trip. This format of racing is unlike anything you've ever seen. It's a religion, and I hate that people overuse that expression for every sport known to man. When you go to an activity where someone dies, they clear the course and 35 minutes later the next class is racing, that's a different planet as far as I'm concerned. From there, we got to go to the hospitality suite and have a beautifully catered lunch, which was so amazingly accented by bikes flying by through the windows just out of your line of sight. After that, we actually got to go on the grid for the start of Super Twins, which was really cool. You get to see just how personal this experience is. I mean, riders really getting in the zone on the grid and knowing they're about to literally put their lives on the line before they go out. Once the grid was clear, we got to move off into the pit area. Seeing those Super Twins do a pit stop in the middle of a TT race is pretty phenomenal. I mean, the level of efficiency and like what all goes through their heads, it's a well-oiled machine, and it doesn't function if it doesn't work out that way. From there, we got to watch from the grandstand, so start finish is one of the fastest sections of the track, and it was my first real taste of the speed they hit. But I think when you're that far away, it's a little bit disconnected. So if you guys stick around for day 2, you'll absolutely get to see just the raw emotion that is someone flying by you at 165 miles an hour. All I can say is it was a phenomenal day. We finally wrapped up by taking a nice bus ride through the countryside, getting to see a little bit more of the Isle of Man. And I think we had like a 3 or 4 course dinner with champagne. I mean, I've never felt fancier and simultaneously more underdressed in my entire life. The company was incredible, getting to meet people from all over the world that share the same passion. The language barriers don't really matter, and that's what's super cool. We had tables where we'd be talking around. I'd be speaking to the guys from Portugal in English. They'd be speaking to the guys from France in French. Our Italian tour guide would be speaking in English, and it was amazing. I mean, wine is really the ultimate translator. Man, I finished day one, and I just had to sit down in the room and be like, yeah, I don't know if I'm ever going to get to do something like this again, but just trying to soak in every moment. So it was a pretty phenomenal first day. So if I thought day one was incredible, day two absolutely blew my mind. It was by far, I think, the most amount of stuff we were able to cram into one day, but at no point did it feel rushed. At no point did it feel like we were scrambling. It was just, people talk about like, oh, today was a good day, and like describe your perfect day. This was an automotive enthusiast's absolute dream day. So we started off in the morning doing an actual lap of the TT course with our bus driver, Ian. So
I'm on the bus right now. We're getting ready to do a single lap of the Isle of Man TT circuit, and we're actually going to be going along with a racer who I don't know yet. And they're going to be kind of walking us through the course and essentially telling us like how they approach different corners and what the different obstacles are and all that kind of stuff. So though it's on a bus, I will officially have done a lap of the TT, so it's pretty rad.
Aside from that, which is a pretty cool experience on its own, we actually got to go along with Philip McAllister, who is an 11-time TT champ and a legend in his own right.
My name is Philip McCallan. I'm a 11 times TT winner. My claim to fame is in '96 I won 4 TTs in a week, which I just loved. I'll never forget. Any trip to the Isle of Man, you'll never forget it, because when you go around that course, there is no corners, there's no stopping, there's nothing like a Isle of Man TT road race.
So it was really cool. You'll see some of the footage. We actually hopped on the bus and Philip spoke over the PA system. And at first kind of just gave us a run through. He's like, oh, this is like Ballygarry. Here's what we do here. This is kind of the line a little bit, and spoke a little bit more to the history, some of the bad crashes, his experience on the course. But as both he and the bus driver got more and more excited, it slowly turned into a live action rally with pace notes coming from the Irishman, Philip.
Hold it in, hold it in, hold it in. But look at the camber, look. So you're right out. One time I was right on that gravel. I had to knock it completely. But lucky it was only a practice.
We were getting tossed all over this bus and everyone was losing their minds. It was such a good time to see both of them get so invested and involved. And I think Philip had said it had been a little over 10 years since the last time he ran the TT. But to see just how intense that passion was for him, that just going on a tour bus around the Isle was that much fun for him, was really cool. So because of the weather and everything getting canceled that day, we actually stopped up at Victory Cafe at the top of the mountain section of the course. Super, super hospitable place. Incredible energy, motorcycle cafe, signatures all over the wall, some really cool gear. It just, if you love anything two-wheel related, it's the place to go, and you'll feel at home no matter where in the world you're from. While we were there, we actually took the opportunity to learn a little bit more about Motul oil specifically. So we had our US Tech Dave kind of walk us through everything and some of the innovation behind the way that Motul oil works. And I won't get super into the nitty-gritty here, but essentially what makes Motul stands out is the way it prevents wear on your engine when you start it. So apparently that's where the most of it happens, but super cool experience. Dave is an absolute legend in the motorcycle community. He was Kevin Schwantz's mechanic at Yoshimura for a long time and helped set up those bikes for him. After we finished the second half of the lap in our bus ride, we got a little bit of breather, took a break in the room, and then immediately turned around and headed up to the Isle of Man Motor Museum, which, I'm not exaggerating, is one of the most incredible experiences I've ever attended when it comes to museums. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Peterson in LA is fantastic, and a lot of these other museums all over the US are really great and have some amazing pieces, but there is this feeling of like unattainability, right? You can only go so far before you're grazing on a velvet rope or an alarm goes off because you've passed the invisible barrier. The Motor Museum at Isle of Man is not like that at all. I mean, they encourage you to get up to the cars. They want you to poke your head in. The entire staff are so knowledgeable and so invested within the collection. So it was a really, really cool experience getting to talk to some of the people who had not only curated those vehicles, but actually done a lot of the repair work themselves. If the day couldn't get any better, right across the street from the Motor Museum, we did a private karting day. So Motul rented out the track and we actually did a Grand Prix style race, which was shocking, as competitive as you would expect from 47 motorcycle employees working in this industry. But it was an absolute riot. We actually ended up having one extra seat, and we let our bus driver Ian hop on, and really took a little bit of convincing. Oh no, I don't want to do it. Oh, my kids beat me at this. Ian ended up placing second overall and absolutely decimated most of the Motul team. After there, we took a quick ride back to the village, changed, and then made the gorgeous drive down to Peel, which is right on the coast of Isle of Man. The dinner was phenomenal. We got to walk around a little bit afterwards, and when you see the castle that's sitting in the harbor there, I mean, it puts the whole place into perspective. You go in knowing that the Isle of Man is pretty small. I think it's something like 40-ish miles long. I've never been somewhere so small that had so many different pockets of culture and ways to differentiate itself. I mean, in an hour lap of the Isle of Man TT course, you go through what feels like 4 different countries. Again, I don't know if it's the energy involved with race week while we're there, or just the people and the general passion for motorcycles, but there is an energy and like a feel to the Isle of Man that is glued together like nowhere I've ever been.
Well, friends, it is 12:30. I should be asleep, but we are finally at the end of day 2, and good God, what an amazing day.
Day 2 was truly the dream when it comes to like how much cool motorsport stuff can you pack into one day. So day 3 was kind of a crazy one because of weather and other delays in racing. Our schedule kind of got thrown out the window and we really had to pivot and make the most out of it. But the start of day 3 is really what set the tone for the entire experience looking back. We made our way early in the morning down to Bray Hill to watch the first set of racing for the day. If you're not familiar, Bray Hill is a long downhill section of the Isle of Man. It's a pretty famous place to watch. And these guys are pinned in top gear, but because the dip is so aggressive before they go back up the hill, they actually have to stand up on the motorcycle so that when they bottom out, they don't compress and lose control. So if you go and watch video or slow-mo or anything like that, these guys are coming through about $165, standing on the pegs before bottoming out, wiggling their way up the hill, and then 2 wheelies into a blind turn. I mean, it is an unbelievable section of track if you want to get that pure Isle of Man experience in one place. So we set up, we got there a little bit early. Man, the dynamic of like how crowds operate at the Isle of Man is so different than the United States. Everyone is so polite about it. They leave so much space because it's not even like, oh, I want to get right up on the barrier. We were probably 6 feet back, but everyone makes sure that every person has a clear sight line. And boy, if you get in it, will they let you know. So we had a great experience, got to wait for a while, and the first bike to actually go by I don't have on video because they hadn't started the race. So we're sitting there chatting. All of a sudden we hear this like whining in the distance, and I was confused. The race hadn't started, they hadn't blown the whistles, they hadn't done their marshal like checkpoint. And then someone screams by in like a lime green jacket and jeans, and like does the whole 9 yards, like bottoms out at the bottom of the hill, wheelies over the crest. And I was like, who is that? And the guy next to me had been coming for a few years. So like, oh, that's a race marshal. And I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, they basically run a section of the course till they get to their spot. And I knew seeing that guy go, being 30 to 40% off of race pace, that I was about to have my mind absolutely blown. And sure enough, as you guys see, that first bike coming by, does not matter how many videos you watch, it does not matter how many articles you read or how many compilations, any of that stuff, none of it matters. When you are 10 feet away from someone bottoming out a motorcycle at 165 miles an hour, you feel it from the top of your head to the bottom of your toes. There is nothing like it on planet Earth. Just finished watching the first class of the day down at Bray Hill, and holy God, I'm at a complete loss for words. That was the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen, to watch someone go through at 170 miles an hour, bottom out, go up the hill, wheelie, and then chuck it into a corner. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it, and this is weeks ago at this point. After Bray Hill, we got to make our way to the next viewing location to watch sidecar guys come through. Motul put us up on a private balcony at Quarter Bridge, which is one of the slowest turns on the track. Most of the guys, at least for sidecar, dropping all the way down into first gear and absolutely chucking it around a roundabout. Holy moly, it's not the same sensation of speed, but hearing those guys just bang down 5 gears and then having the monkey like hold off to the side just to make this corner. I thought the regular people at Isle of Man were crazy. Sidecar class is in its own world of stupid, dangerous, absolute nutcases, and I mean that in the best way possible. The food was incredible. We got to have private meals up there, and the vantage point was absolutely insane. The biggest damper on the day, unfortunately, while we were there, I think the sidecar race had been shortened to 2 laps because they were trying to condense the format and get everybody in. But after the first lap, all of a sudden we heard the whistles, red flags come out, and unfortunately we did find that a sidecar had crashed actually just at the top of Bray Hill, and a father and son duo did end up losing their lives. So that was kind of a bummer. But talking to what I spoke about in a previous video on day 1, the race, all they do is they clear up, they get the track ready, and they're normally moving on. If it weren't for a rain delay, they were not done racing for that day. And as morbid as that sounds, there's an understanding in the paddock that every time those riders go out, it could be their last time, and the people who run Isle of Man know what to expect. It is ride or die, and they mean that quite literally. So I don't personally know how long this event will stay around. It is the most dangerous motorsport event that I'm aware of. Man, I hope it does, and I hope you guys get a chance to go, because the energy there and the connection between the fans, the racers, the course, just the place itself, you won't feel that in any other form of racing, and I can't emphasize that enough. After we got to Quarterbridge, we made our way back to the village. From there, I almost forgot about the most exciting non-motorsport part of the trip, which was the actual train from the Harry Potter movies. I don't know if that's actually true, but it looks like it, and I sure felt like it. We show up to the railway in Peel, and oh my God. You want to talk about whining and dining. We get on the train, we have aperitifs, which is a fancy word for cocktail I had to Google, appetizers, and you think like, oh man, this can't get any better. And then we pull up to a literal castle. It's like Rushar Castle, I believe, something along those lines. We go into this tent, 5-course dinner, drinks are flowing. It was the culmination of an incredible week. And the bond I felt between these people that I'd never met until 3 days prior, I don't think I'll find something stronger than that outside of motorsport. I mean, there is something about two wheels that connects everyone regardless of culture, and you can't put into words how special that feeling is. So there's not a thing I do differently on this trip, honestly. I think Motul did an exceptional job in setting this up, and VIP would be an understatement. I have never felt more special on a vacation in my entire life, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm glad you got to come along with me, and make sure to like it and subscribe it, and email Chase nonstop to have me back on the channel, because I want to do more shit like this. So, see ya.
Alright guys, if you made it to this point in the video, I don't know why I'm here doing this. Joe just killed that. Nice job, dude.
Thank you.
I'm retiring, and Joe will be running the channel now. But if you made it to this point in the video, guys, you're in the outro crew. Make sure to hit the like button, put OC in your comment down below, because we know you're going to comment. And what do we ask him, Joe?
Man, follow me on Instagram. That'd be rad.
Yeah. Are you following Joe on Instagram? And his Instagram is that. Only Instagram? No, nobody else? No
Just
else?
Instagram for now, yeah.
Why do you not make YouTube videos? Anyway,
Because he does it.
follow Joe on Instagram. Okay, I'm done. I want to go to the Isle of Man now. I would like to go. I am not satisfied with the video. Also, screw Joe. That's all Thank you for watching this video. I'm gonna go to not the Isle of Man. Over here.